Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today to the very first Real Deal webinar. And we have got people from across 43 countries who have joined us, and we really thank them for their time. And before anything else, I would like to introduce you all to the panelists who are, industry leaders, and they've been here for a very long time, and they can share real valuable insights to the industry and the people who are attending today. Now, let me introduce you to the panelists. We have Mr. Yasser Goded, General Manager, Zamperla. Welcome, Mr. Yasser. Then we have Mr. Leonard Otto, CEO, IMG Worlds of Adventure. Welcome, Leonard.
Yep.
Then we have Mr. Johannes Navarsre from Warehouse of Games. He's the head of sales and business development. And we have Mr. Michael Rigby, VP Business Development, Whitewater West. And we have Mr. Prakash Vivekanand, Managing Director, ASI. So while we were doing the registration process, there were people who wanted to know what is happening with the industry, how can we kickstart the industry, and what is the real situation here in the Middle East region in the UAE. So the first question that we have is about that. What are the strategies that you guys are adopting in this region with regard to the theme parks, amusement industries, FECs? So if you have any strategies that you have kind of adopted in the last few months and that has worked for you, perhaps that's going to be a great learning experience for the other people who are listening today from other parts of the world. So we have seen a lot of promotions going on from IMG Worlds of Adventure. So I think, Leonard, you can start the discussion and share your viewpoint.
Sure, thanks, Prem. I think first of all, Dubai and the UAE is such a tourist-driven market, and a lot of the businesses is really built around that tourism infrastructure that's been put in place. So tourism obviously forms a critical part of all of our typical business models pre-COVID. Since the coronavirus has kicked in, tourism is more or less halted. So a lot of diversification in terms of, I believe, most of the operating facilities models had to change to one factor in the loss of tourists that's coming to the market. And we know that's quite a long road to climb ahead, and look towards how we can capitalize and increase our resident business to be able to fill that gap to a certain extent. Realistically, we all know that is a very challenging task, as the resident market is not of the size and scale to completely fill the gap of 15 to 16 million tourists that typically passes through the Dubai and Abu Dhabi terminals. But regardless, that needed to be the model that we've all looked at. And our focus predominantly has been on creating a value-added experience for the resident market. We know the situation has been challenging not only on tourism, but also in general, the consumer confidence is low, consumer spending has taken a hit, the uncertainty of job loss in other areas, which is a natural part of any economy that is shrinking across the globe. And taking in those factors, we wanted to create a volume-based business where we'll increase spend once people are actually at the facility versus trying to sustain a high ticket price, knowing that the threshold of people have changed and that confidence level is not there. So since we've opened 3 months ago, our business model has been heavily driven on a very low ticket yield and then a paper attraction approach, similar to what you find in a lot of amusement parks and the FECs. A lot of theme parks typically don't do that. It's a ticket price and then you do everything once you're inside. But knowing that the threshold was not there, we've gone that and it's paid off. We've done good volume in terms of walk-in visitors through the resident market that has come to the park itself. We're probably at 70 to 75% of our regular footfall, but revenue definitely has taken a dip. So a lot of focus has been on creating opportunities for people to spend money once they're in the park, whether it be enhanced food and beverage business, retail offerings. We've made the paper attraction very affordable as well. We want to encourage guests to do as much of the attractions as possible once they're inside the park. This weekend, we're launching our first Halloween event since the market has reopened. And I think we're one of the few that's actually going ahead and doing our first event obviously looking at safety and building confidence among the consumers when it comes to that. But it is a long journey ahead, I believe, for all of us. Our focus will remain on creating a value proposition for the resident market. We also are looking forward to Abu Dhabi reopening, hopefully in due course, to be able to capitalize on that segment of the market, because at the moment we're pretty much only looking at the Dubai market, Sharjah, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah. But at some point that will open. There is some tourism trickling in as well, which is also a positive sign. And hopefully we continue to see those numbers increase after the December, January holiday comes in, and possibly by next summer, we would possibly see a much stronger pull coming in. But today the focus is on sustainability. The focus in all of our promotions is to make sure that our profit is basically breaking even and be able to weather the storm, as we know the outlook is going to be challenging for the next few months. But the opportunity is there also to diversify our business, and we've done that.
Lovely, lovely. Has there been a mindset change in people? I mean, from what we saw in the initial months when the pandemic, started, that's in February and March, to today, when people have started coming to the facilities like IMG, do you think people are ready to, explore? Obviously, with the social distancing, protocols and all that in place.
Absolutely. I think people are going out. There is even a receptiveness to travel for people at the moment. The confidence levels has definitely been proven and built. The UAE is done exceptionally well with the overall COVID incident, whether it be building that confidence, creating the brand assurance stamp for facilities that is operating at a certain level when it comes to the safety factors of COVID. They have been absolutely rigorous in their inspection process, which has been fantastic because it's pushed all the facilities to be more aggressive when it comes to the safety factors that needs to be in place. And we've made sure that it's very visual, whether it be the camera checks, which could have been hidden. We've made sure it's visible. We want guests to know that we're taking that extra precautions, from hand sanitizers to security checks to thermo checks, and everything that goes in between that. So definitely the confidence levels has gone up. We do see a receptiveness for people to come out. A lot of people are coming out with kids as well, which is a very positive sign that they feel the comfort level to be able to bring their kids out to a theme park. But the major issue is really the volume that is available in the local market for the amount of tourism infrastructure that's built. And that's why we all have to be a bit more price wary, at least for the coming periods, to continue to allow the residents to visit multiple venues instead of one every few months, until that tourism buffer gets rebuilt.
Lovely, lovely. Mike, what about you? I mean, do you think water parks are also facing a similar kind of a situation? Do you think people are exploring water parks now?
Yeah, of course. It's, the parks over here are relying on the tourists. So all of a sudden they do have, a big hit there. You've got Wildwood and Atlantis, which are both tied into the hotels.
Right.
And if you don't have that occupancy in the hotels, then there's less guests. Saying that more and more people, I think in the UAE specifically, are looking at staycations. So from speaking to the park owners, we might not know their specific numbers, but they seem, relatively confident and happy with the numbers that people are coming into the park. I think after the lockdown specifically, a lot of people were eager to get outside and were looking for activities. And one of the beauties of water parks is that they are outdoor. So it does give people a little bit more confidence in being in an enclosed space. I think we go into, the safety measures that all the parks over here they're all taking. It's the confidence which is going to drive people back. So of course, we haven't got the external tourists. There are people still nervous, but given the situation, I think the water parks, are doing their best to attract people. You see offers in the market as well. You see people fighting for the guests that are willing to go out. So I'm sure they're competing quite vigorously with each other, but it's not a complete disaster.
Oh, great. That's great. Good to hear that. Yasser, what about you? What are your comments on this?
Oh, we have been challenged by the situation like anybody else, as a manufacturer, supplier. The main challenge for us is how to meet with our customers, because our bread and butter is meetings, personal relations, and how we communicate basically on business and personal levels. So we had some ideas that we tested, and some of them were quite successful. Basically, it revolved around creating workshops with the customers. So we create workshops that basically involves from the customer side multi-departments like design department, operation, and technical support, and so on. And that is mirrored also by people from our organization, from technical support, from design, from project management, and so on. And we meet, and then we try to get this workshop replace what we usually did during presentations and customer meetings.
Right.
We are learning by the time. I mean, it's difficult because you're missing the personal communication, the human touch, let's say, and but it is something that we have to learn to work with, and until this situation gets a little better, we are able to travel and see the customer more often. So, but apart from that, we did not see major effects on how we are able to deliver our message to the customer so far. So we will see what happens with the trade shows. That was a major, departure from what we used to have in the last year. So we'll see how that will work out. We're trying still, and some of the shows were a complete disaster. Some of them were not so bad, and we'll see how it goes in the future.
Sure.
And I think it is working for us at the time being, and we think we can do much better.
Lovely, lovely. So from outdoors, if we want to go indoors, with the FEC sector, Johannes, would you like to comment on what you have observed over the last few months and how it's changing or transforming into a different a place to entertain the audience? So if you can, share your viewpoint, Johannes.
Yeah, the situation is not very pleasant, actually. It's not quietly different from the theme park. We still live in the same world. We still have the same challenges. We still have to learn, as Yasser said, how to live with this new style of life. Yeah, it's a total new thing for all of us, either operators or suppliers or people holding the business. The time is tough, I can't deny that, but we always try and find a new solution for these challenges. Now, taking in consideration all the safety guidelines we have to go with, operator concept, yeah, social distancing, the less spending by families, because there is always, taking the fear factor as one point, there is always the financial factor. Everybody was affected. Everyone in Dubai, not only in Dubai, all the world was affected. And our sector, the entertainment, we consider it as complementary sector. Yeah, it's not a primary sector. People can stay without going shopping, without retail, without entertainment, but they cannot stay without food and without the essential elements. So yes, we were affected. There is a lot of new promotion, new campaigns going. I think dropping the prices or finding new ways where people can spend money on the entertainment. As Leonard said, you can play as you go. Yeah, you don't have to pay one time for the whole park. So this has helped a lot of people instead of paying a big amount of money. We always have to keep the faith. Numbers are still maybe growing now. There is 50% drop with the FEC industry, but numbers keeps building because people will adapt somehow. Yeah.
True.
Again, promotions will make a way to have more income maybe. Marketing plans. You will actually now be more focused on the repeated clients, because as we all know, tourists is kind of very low number now. So repeated client, we have to focus on local clients who are in the same emirate, not in different emirates. Yeah.
True.
maybe adding some little new games every once in a while, just to change the current layout or the current form of the games. And that's it.
Great, great. Yeah, I'm sure we are going through the transition phase, and everyone across the globe were affected by this. So it was not an isolated situation. So I'm sure we have to find ways to come out of the situation, and we will, definitely in this part of the world. Prakash, you have your comments on this topic. What do you have to say?
I have to agree with all the panelists. I think that they're very valid in terms of what they presented. Your question specifically was with respect to what are we doing as a strategy to survive these present times. And Leonard correctly mentioned, he said sustenance, and I would like to say surviving at this point in time, because it's important for all of us to survive this period. The general feel is that a lot of the suppliers are not affected and the operators have been significantly impacted, which is true. But post the reopening, we haven't really seen a change in mindset from the operators to add. The second part of your question highlighted a little bit more about change in mindset of people. So at one end, our strategy has been survival, or customer strategy has been survival and trying to come out of all the ill effects of this pandemic. But the change in mindset of the people is there to see, as Johannes mentioned, the fear factor, the affordability factor. All of this has changed your customer. And most importantly, your customer has also become very digital savvy, in terms of online savvy. Even the ones who are really not into online gaming have now started getting used to online gaming and everything. So there is a change and shift in the pattern in terms of how our customer who's returning to an FEC or a theme park actually views a lot of things. They're probably better informed during this entire period of lockdown and everything else, and they're looking for something different. They're choosy about what they spend their money on, and that is something that we've noticed, because what we've seen traditionally is the top 10 games. There's been a shift in that. So the traditional number ones are no longer the number ones from an FEC perspective. This could only be attributed to the type of games people want to play. So this is something which I would urge operators all across the world and everybody who's listening to this conference to pay attention to. So, go look back at what were your top performers before, what are your top performers now? Did you introduce something new, and how did that particular game do at the present times? And does that tell you something about a shift in the consumer mindset? And that again is different from region to region. So when we take the MENA region, even if I just take the United Arab Emirates, the behavior of Fujairah is very different from the behavior of Dubai, which is very different from Al Ain and Abu Dhabi. So, and now with everybody being localized rather than really moving between Emirates or between the many countries in here, that again gives you a lot of know-how in terms of what it is. But there are many positives from all of this. If you've had a lot of returning residents and local customers coming in, it gives a lot of operators the opportunity to understand what do these customers really want. So rather than basing your model only on tourism, like especially this is so much more applicable to Dubai-based operations and UAE-based operations, which are very dependent on tourism. Now you figure a better way to re-strategize to cater to the locals, the residents, and trying to bring them back with more lucrative offers. So I agree with everybody in terms of what they've said. My views are similar to what they've said, but I think the strategy is to survive through this in the present and come up with more innovative schemes to deal with the changing mindset of people. And that mindset is continuing to evolve. And that why I say evolve is because of the fact that media, WhatsApp, Google, everything else plays such a significant role today in affecting that mindset of people. So every day it's a different narrative. One day they say that this virus is airborne, and one day they say, touching door handles doesn't really transmit the virus. Each of these things have an impact on how people behave, right? So, and therefore we have to keep evolving with this, and we have to keep studying our customers more closely.
Right. Uh, Eventually, as the situation improves, do you think to attract the residents who are already your receptive audience in this market, uh, should you have both for FECs and theme parks? Should you have a new set of concepts or games? Do you think that is a way to pull the audience back to the theme parks and FECs?
From my perspective, uh, I think yes, because of the fact that you have seen frequency of visits increase in many operations, so the customers returning. Maybe spend per head at various locations, especially from an FEC perspective, has kind of gone up and down. We've seen by the end of the month when it kind of goes down, and then first week of the month kind of goes up. Seems to kind of show an indication linked to paydays and everything else, which has normally been the case, but probably more evident now. People have downsized because a lot of residents have taken wage cuts. We don't have furlough measures in this part of the world. So companies have had to resort to different ways to survive and stay. So there have been job losses and wage cuts, so which has altered people's lifestyles.
Right.
So they're choosy about what they spend on. And therefore, to not give them anything new would be a mistake, in my opinion. And having said that, I also understand that it's tough for operators to also commit a lot of capital budget into renewals and everything else in the present day situation. So there has to be a balance. We as a company work closely with operators on coming up with more innovative schemes, on trying to help them with their operations and trying to give them some kind of newness in products. From a theme park perspective, it is not really easy to just commission a new ride or add a new content or something like that. Probably they can do this with more innovative shows. Leonard would probably comment a lot more on that. They'll probably do newer ways of adding more value and improving dwell time, but with newer shows or merchandise or different ways to attract customers back. But I think I would leave it to Leonard to actually answer more on this.
Leonard, what do you have to say?
Yeah, Prakash, I think one is the easiest thing to scale up or scale down, especially in a big operation, is manpower. So, and that largely links back to the entertainment factor. Even this weekend, we have an additional 30 entertainers in the park that's doing street performances, a Halloween parade, trick-or-treating. So this is our first event that we are bringing back to the table. From there, we start preparing for the Winter Festival based around Christmas. So there'll be a lot of activations and decorations, and these are the things we can do for relatively lower cost, but it yields good response, especially since there is an appetite in the resident market for things to do. Because as much as we don't get tourists in, there's also not a lot of people leaving. So we have an opportunity to also capitalize on the resident market. Obviously doing anything major at the moment with the current situation, not only from a operating financial standpoint, but even from a banking standpoint, liquidity in the market is extremely tight. The appetite with banks is even less to be able to diverse capital at the moment. So even getting certain projects financed or getting certain expansions or developments financed will be extremely challenging. One of the other things we are heavily focused on is bringing in additional partnerships to be able to activate and bring in additional revenue generating opportunities. We've done something very successful with Johannes and Warehouse Games, where we have a small ice ring in the park that we've added now. We have an inflatable obstacle course. We're looking to bring in the elements of a trampoline park. And we do this on partnerships and revenue-based sharing. And that works really well because a lot of our partners and a lot of the suppliers and manufacturers might sit on a lot of inventory that was also planned for certain projects or certain expansions, and inventory sitting in your warehouse not making you money is also not a good business model. So at the end of the day, if there's an opportunity to create a win-win solution for both the manufacturers and the operators, this could be a great way to do that and ultimately bring in more revenue, more business opportunity, and support everyone to be sustainable. I think it's as important for the operators that the suppliers and manufacturers are are weathering the storm with us, and vice versa, because at the end of the day, we would need them in the future to continue our own developments and growths. And if there's a shortage, we're all going to struggle for any expansions in the future, and vice versa. If the operator starts going down, the manufacturer has nobody to sell to. So I think this is the time for collaborations. It's the time for partnerships. It's the time to think on unconventional ways that you typically wouldn't have done. Forget about your typical, let's say, pride that you might have had and your prestige that you necessarily try to attach to these types of projects, and focus on, like Prakash said, survival. I call it sustainability, but okay, I agree with the survival clause as well. And this is through collaborations and partnerships.
That's great. Thank you so much for that detailed explanation, Lennart. It was amazing. Now, the key thing is now, if you have seen, the normalization between UAE, Bahrain, and Israel, this announcement is really good for the governments. It's a G2G business, technology-related businesses. But do you think, from the theme parks and entertainment industry standpoint, do you think it'll have a rub-off effect on your industries? Do you think they will come and invest in your facilities to grow it further? Or will it be an IMG or a Magic Planet being set up in Israel by UAE investors? So what are your comments, Lennart? You can start.
I think first of all, it's great that another market is opened up to the UAE. And it's a very strategic market that has many strategic ties as well. And I think that's a great step on behalf of the UAE government to take that initiative and open that market for all of us to be able to potentially benefit from. I think in the short term, the opportunities are going to be relatively limited. Obviously, as much as we're struggling, so as most other countries around the world, including Israel. And I think in terms of major investments, all of those, unless it's critical investments, will probably be pushed a little bit later in time. I think from a tourism standpoint, it's going to take a while for that tourism factor to open between both countries as well. But I think UAE has built such a fantastic platform in this region, and there's a great opportunity to export our services to Israel, and hopefully also take back some new investments out of Israel, investing into our developments in our company. So for me, I see a lot of services being exported into Israel. Given the regional positioning, given what we've built out here, it makes it a great platform. And hopefully will open that opportunities for us to export some of our products over there, whether it be leisure and entertainment or else, and ultimately also look at potential investments coming out of Israel to further develop this industry as we go on. IMG themselves are on their own international expansion into China and into a few other markets. And we see Israel as a great opportunity to also potentially export our products over there.
Lovely. Yasser, you have any comments on this? Did you get a chance to connect with anybody, your counterparts there in Israel so far?
I think his voice is breaking, or
yeah, your voice is breaking. Yes, sir. Your voice is breaking. We can't hear you. Yes, sir. Your voice is. No, I think.
Looks like Yasser may have a connectivity issue.
Yeah, connectivity issue. Maybe Mike, you would like to comment on it till we get Yasser back.
Sure. So my personal opinion on this is that I see it more as an opportunity for the groups here to actually, potentially go into Israel and benefit from that, rather than that being a huge benefit to the UAE market. Of course, it's another market where tourists can come. I think there'll be people from Israel that might want to come. They might want to experience something new. But I think from, from a supplier's point of view, one of the things of the Middle East is there are so many signature parks. So we look at IMG, we look at the water parks. These are parks that they currently don't exist in places such as Israel. So I can say already we've had clients who are already inquiring, can they come and see the water parks in the UAE? Obviously, the fame of the water parks over here has preceded the situation, and they're well aware of the world-class parks we have in the region, and they want to come and experience that firsthand. So I do think all of a sudden this opening of the borders and these new ties could give the opportunity, for groups from the UAE to be able to showcase in markets which were previously closed. So I do think it's an opportunity for us, and fingers crossed for the guys over here. That does mean, investment the other way, but I guess time will tell.
Well, I think something fruitful should happen eventually for the industry in both markets, and I'm sure everybody will benefit out of that. Now the other most important market, I mean, like right now, if you see in GCC, I mean, we have UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and Oman. So Saudi Arabia, is a market which has got so many projects that are right now coming up. So what are your comments on that? Are you working right now? I mean, what is the current situation in terms of their amusement industries? Have they, kind of interacted with you? What are you doing with them? If you can just share your viewpoints on that. Mike, would you want to start, or anybody else? I mean, the floor is open.
Yeah, of course I can touch upon that. Obviously, there is a lot of hype of all the projects that are going on in Saudi Arabia right now. This has been well publicized that as part of Vision 2030, entertainment is a huge factor in that. I think a lot of people are sort of starting to worry about, does the current situation, because in Saudi Arabia we had the COVID situation, which hit the oil, which hits, the economy. So I feel a lot of people were scared that may slow things down. But again, I look at it from the other perspective. I think it's actually got the message across again that they need to double down, that if they have so much reliance on oil, then the future, then they are at risk. So I do think this whole diversification will be interesting. And I think, that presents huge opportunities. They're looking to change the market. I think it's a hugely exciting time for all of us to see the developments, and they're going to go ahead. Maybe there's a slight touch. It was very unfortunate, just as their markets were opening, more people were able to get over there. Tourism was starting to increase, then the lockdown hit. But I think it's a blip in a very exciting journey.
Exactly. Seen, across the globe. So I'm sure the story is same in Saudi Arabia as well. And eventually, when things start opening up, that market will also open up, with a bang. Johannes, you have something to add there?
Yeah, the GCC market is so big market, and there were actually a lot of projects on the pipeline before this pandemic happens. Well, many projects, I don't want to say canceled, but they are put on hold right now. I think it's a good timing for them to restudy the whole project, the whole concept. Things will be really tough for the operators right now to survive. But on the long term, I believe our business will be one of the most factors to be revived in a good way. Because people at that time will be ready to spend. Projects on a bigger scale will be maybe ready, but not on time. They'll be delayed like a year or 2 years, depends on this pandemic when it's gonna finish. I hope it's gonna finish tomorrow. But anyhow, the projects will still be ongoing. Things will take time, longer than what have been expected. People eventually will start going out as they used to go out. True.
Yeah, but what about the business angle? I mean, are you in touch with any any of your counterparts there?
We are working on some projects, but the earliest one who is planning to open is May 2021. Nobody is willing to take the risk. Nobody is willing to have like a major opening before that date. Everybody is delaying their projects. Everybody is targeting by mid 2021 up to the end of 2021.
Okay. Yasser, thank you so much, Yohannes. Yasser, are you back online? I mean, can you hear us? I think, hello, Yasser, can you hear us? There's a problem, connectivity issue.
Yasser,
Prakash, yeah, Yasser, you can log in again if you want. Maybe that'll be better. Prakash, what are your thoughts on this?
Most of the plans for Saudi Arabia, anyway, it was a part of the Vision 2030 initiative. It's a planned initiative by the government to move away from the oil-based economy to creating more non-oil-based streams, and then provide increased employment and newer areas of employment for the nationals in there. So that has always been the focus, but the general misunderstanding was the fact that all of these projects, these multi-billion-dollar projects, were going to happen tomorrow. That was at least the excitement with a lot of the supplier world and the manufacturing world to say that, oh wow, Saudi Arabia, the hottest and the most happening. These are magnanimous developments. These are beautiful developments, and and obviously to build that excitement, they want to announce many developments. Sometimes they may not all again, because these are phased developments that are happening over a period of 10 to 11, 12 years. COVID may probably move a lot of these 2030 plans to 2032 or something like that because of everything that's happened. And some of these plans may also evolve. Some of these projects may either become smaller, or some of the projects may get bigger combined with another project. So these are all news that will come in the coming days. But a lot of the ones that have been announced, the good ones that have been announced, are moving forward and are moving in the right direction too. I think that they have learned from the mistakes committed by theme parks and entities in different parts of the world as well as in the region, and they are trying to do something different. And Saudi Arabia is blessed with the largest population in terms of what it is, and there's a general feeling that the Saudis are being urged to spend in Saudi Arabia within their own economy. And that is actually factoring very well, even for them as an industry. Of course, they were unable to travel. In the present day times, so a lot of the reports that we get to hear from a lot of the Saudi-based locations, they're still averaging at 60-65% of last year's revenue, like for like, which is a good statistic. We've really not seen a slowdown in the future projects that have been announced. Those future projects, which are surely going to happen in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they're still happening. Some of the others may get a little delayed, and or maybe push forward, or may go back to the drawing board and re-evolve as something better. But the types are happening. Saudi Arabia is still a lot of opportunity. We recently read about the Ministry of Culture tying up with Team Labs and bringing their entire set of attractions into Saudi Arabia. A lot of museum-based projects, a lot of water park projects that were announced, which probably Mike can throw more light on. And companies like Seven and Qiddiya are still rolling forward with a lot of their projects. And I know the backbone of this, we're also seeing a lot of existing operators branch into newer forms of offering. So they're trying to, contribute to that vision by coming up with more innovative offering and something different. So I would say that watch the Saudi space very closely, and there'll be a lot of exciting stuff happening. But be patient with it also. Don't expect things to happen tomorrow. Be patient with it and nurse that market, and that's going to be great, because it is a big transition for them to go away from the oil-based economy to a non-oil-based things. And in the present day dynamic, we've also seen that there has been a little bit more increased emphasis on understanding the operating costs of a business. That's probably one of the biggest things. The pandemic has taught a lot of operators in there to very closely look at those operating costs and measure those operating costs. So that is a nice and interesting shift in the business, which probably manufacturers and suppliers will also have to evolve to. So because as a business, we have to look at how are we addressing operating costs for any attraction that we deliver and everything else. So and in that shift, in that addressing of that EBITDA and everything else, we will also probably short term see some of the operations, existing operations, Saudi Arabia close down, because they were probably not performing to the levels they should have been, right? And resources being allocated to those operations which are doing very well, right? And which will also mean that the operations that close down could be for somebody else to come in and open something new and something different. So much as though we can say that the closing down is probably a negative, but the fact that someone new is going to come in and try something different is probably a positive. So we're all very upbeat about Saudi Arabia. We're working on a couple of very nice projects, which I can't disclose a lot of details of because my NDA on these projects. One of the projects that we're working on in Saudi Arabia with the Al Shire Group, we just started installing all the games and rides and attractions just now. So, and this was scheduled for a June-July 2020 opening, and it's obviously got delayed now because the pandemic may probably open in the first quarter. So we're presently installing. That's an exciting project. It's something different, and it's got a lot of nice attractions too. So it's exciting times in Saudi Arabia. I would say that it's a market to really watch out for because it's got the population. It's also got a very evolving young population. So.
True. Thank you so much, Prakash. Yasser, are you online?
I am online. I think the
But,
guest can
yeah. We can very much. Yeah. So your comments.
Yeah, recapping on Saudi Arabia. I mean, Saudi Arabia for us was a very important market always. I think it represented something like 60% of our turnover annually. So now with the new projects, the big projects happening, we are involved with the major projects. Again, we cannot disclose anything because of our NDA, but
Sure.
we are involved with all the big projects there. It's a very exciting time because Saudi Arabia is a very special country because the parks there, the performance does not rely mainly on the tourists because you have the majority of the revenue coming from local tourism, and that's why they're not being affected much by the impact of the lockdown or the restriction of travel and so on. So we are seeing now a good movement in the market there. There is expectation that there is also the opening of the flights and opening of the travel between Saudi and Bahrain, for example, beginning of January. This would also may mean that the market in Bahrain will open, and because it's heavily reliant on the Saudi tourism. And we are seeing a good movement in that sector between Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. So I think Saudi will continue to remain a major player in our market, and will be, I think, the dominant in the next maybe 4 or 5 years, with the big parks coming into operation in 2022 and 2023.
Absolutely. So, and Yasser, now, what are your comments on Expo 2020? Because now we are all entering a third phase of trials with regard to vaccines, and we are hearing a lot of news on that front across different countries. Now, eventually, I'm sure things will change, and we all want it to change. So what are your perceptions, or what are your thoughts with regard to Expo 2020 and your industry?
I mean, this situation has to end somehow. I mean, we cannot continue to be in that situation forever. We've tried, everybody was panicked in the first wave, and the lockdown, and the globe froze and everybody was thinking that this would go away. It didn't go away. It's coming back again, and probably it will not go away completely for the next few years. So the idea is that we have to learn to live with it in a way that it doesn't affect us in a negative way, or doesn't affect our economy, our health, and we have to control our lives in a certain way. Of course, we cannot
Right.
go back to what we used to be. We cannot travel as freely as we used to be. We cannot, live our lives that we used to be. But we have to go back to work. We have to go back to the economy has to go back again. Now with
Right.
Expo 2020, I think by the time the Expo 2020 will be 2021 at this point is going to happen. I think this kind of new procedures, new protocols will be something of everybody accustomed to. So
Right.
hopefully, I mean, the key question always is: are we able to travel or not? I mean, this is the main question. The restrictions are always a nuisance. You're not able to, feel the pleasures of life as used to be with the mask, with the sanitization and stuff like that. But
Right.
if you're able to travel, I think this can be minimized. The problem at the moment is that people are not able to travel as they used to, and this is creating a huge restriction on the tourism industry and anybody benefiting out of it. So whether we are able to travel during the Expo 2020 in a decent way, let's say in a normal way, that will be the key question. I think by the time the Expo 2020 is online, and I think people will learn how to handle the new procedures, and hopefully flights will be back again.
That's great. I hope it happens the way you just said. Leonard, what are your comments on that?
I think Expo 2020 was a major milestone in Dubai's upcoming projects. Many years of anticipation. A lot of our business plans in 2020 was linked to that uptick in Expo and what it potentially will bring to the table. I think most people were expecting at least a 1.5x increase in business during that 6-month period, not only from a supplier manufacturer, but also from an operator standpoint, bringing that amount of tourists through the market, an increased length of stay in the hotels, which ultimately will trickle down to hopefully an increased business for all of us. And obviously with that shifting and what's happened, I think Expo 2020 now forms a part of a lot of our planning for 2021. Although I think even with a vaccine coming into place at some portion of time next year, and travel hopefully opening up, I still don't think you will get to the volume that was originally estimated for Expo. So I think we are treading a bit more carefully on the outlook for Expo, although we still feel there will be an upside to it, and there is an opportunity to collaborate and do a lot of partnerships with Expo as they're going to market around the world and hopefully bring people back. And this might be the first major event that sort of restabilizes after the COVID crisis. I think there is people around the world that is desperate to travel, that is itching to travel, and is on the verge of even taking a chance to travel. And I think once that markets open up, I think we will see tourism. And I think Expo is still some time away. And we do have a positive outlook that there will be an increase in business. It might not be at the same expectation of 2020 anymore. But it is an important event for Dubai. It's an important event for all the industries and businesses in Dubai, regardless of what business. And I think all of us want to support Expo as well during this, because this could be again another turning point in Dubai's calendar, and hopefully the start of business to resume back to normal following that. So we are planning for Expo. We are factoring Expo into our plans, but definitely at a lesser level than we originally intended in 2020.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, Leonard. Johannes, do you think Warehouse of Games has kind of come up with something unique? Did you guys plan anything for the Expo while it was planned for 2020?
Well, as all other business in Dubai, everybody was depending on Expo 2020 to bring more business to the country, to evolve the economy in a way where tourists will be coming in, more spending, more people staying, either exhibitors or visitors to the show. But with the current situation, to be honest with you, I don't want to be very negative, but the situation keeps changing, because one day they have a rule, then the next day they have a totally different new rules. So I believe it's still early to talk about Expo 2021. Even as Leonard said, with the vaccine existence in 2021, things won't be so open and so easy for traveling from all over countries. We are lucky and we are blessed to be here in Dubai, where everything is open, people can still go out, of course, taking into consideration all the guidelines and all the safety rules. But for other countries, they are still closed. In many sectors, they are still closed. So even if the vaccine will be there, I think Expo will be affected somehow. Yes, we want things to be back to normal. We want business to pick up again. And we hope Expo 2021 to be the starting point for such expansion in business and such opening. But I believe it's still quite early to talk about Expo 2021 because the rules are not so clear so far unless we find a solution for this COVID-19.
True. I agree with you. But I'm sure things will change for the better eventually for all of us. Prakash, your comments on that?
You see, I have great faith in the government here. I think that the amount, I've not seen any slowdown in any of the infrastructure projects and everything else that's happening in relation to the Expo. All right. So yes, there is a big if in all of this in terms of, will travel resume, will everything come back? That will remain a big if, but at the speed at which everything is happening and the promotions and everything else, let's just hope that the government knows better and they have a larger plan, and let's believe in those plans. And I think that if the Expo does happen, I think it'll really kickstart the economy. One, because of all the delay and everything else that we've had. And the general thing about sourcing a lot of the stuff from China, and hopefully there's a lot of contracts given locally in here to a lot of companies in terms of executing of all of these pavilions and everything else. That's going to bring in fresh employment in here, probably more people finding jobs, and just the fact that we just purely based on everything that we have seen on social media and the promotions and everything else, some of the plans for this Expo is outrageous. It's just phenomenal, mind-blowing. Some of the hologram shows and so the technology and everything else they're talking about is extremely mind-blowing. And I think it'd be great for the world to see. I mean, if you think that we've all gotten more digitally savvy, more trendy and everything, in the Expo is talking a lot about digitization of your life in many ways and technology at the forefront and everything else. It'll be a great spectacle for people to come in and see. And some of those investments are significant, into these. So therefore, I'm actually keeping my finger very crossed that the Expo is going to bring a lot of innovation, a lot of technology for people to see, feel, and experience. Some of the stuff that we've seen, like you kind of walk through between buildings and use your phone to control the lights on those buildings. I mean, wow, significant, right? And what does it do to the next generation of kids and everything else in terms of how they are going to interact and experience with these technologies? So I'm all for Expo to come to happen, and when these things happen, it's going to bring about change in the way leisure and entertainment works, because it's a more digitally savvy world. We will bring about a lot more digitization into leisure and entertainment, and this is the sort of technology people are coming to see. Then operators, in and around Dubai will have to put on a show. That could, which means if you're getting a lot of positive news from an Expo perspective, that means the operations and the retailers and the malls and the theme parks, everybody else are going to join this act and support the government, which means they are going to do more investment. They are going to add something. And like Leonard mentioned earlier, we could come in with a whole collaborative show in terms of, operators, then supporting the manufacturers with the right, norms, with the right payment terms and everything else, so that they are able to then collaborate with these operators and make sure that they're able to bring in these attractions and everything else. And it could be a great act for the industry. It could really revive the industry, and that could be the best news that we had as a revival from COVID. We haven't really had a major international event, and I know that in the past people have said these world expos are not really good. Look at what happened with Milan, and look at what happened in Barcelona. What did it really do? and everything else. I think for this part of the world, it could be different because of the increased digitization, because of the increased technology, because of our increased reliance on technology. I think things could be different. If you had a cool drone flying over your head, transporting you from here to somewhere else, and you got to ride it, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
I'm actually very bullish on the Expo, and I think Expo will bring in that travel, and I think the Expo could give people a wonderful reason to travel, you know. And if the Expo is able to bring people back here, that'd be brilliant for all of us, and that'd be brilliant for the entire region, in fact. So, and it's just this whole collaboration that we're talking. Saudi Arabia Pavilion has confirmed, you know, there are many more countries who are coming forward, and we've had the opportunity to see some plans of these really ambitious plans of some of these pavilions. Oh my God, I can't wait to watch the Expo. Honestly.
Yeah, it is actually amazing, you know, what we have seen from the advertising and the kind of promotions that they have done, and it's going to be a world-class experience for the world tourism sector, I would say. Mike, you have any comments?
That's how it works.
Yeah, so I was recently at the Expo site, and it's looking fantastic. And all the educational pieces that they're putting there, it should leave a legacy. And I just hope the word gets out there that enough people are going to want to come and see it. But I'm actually going to then touch upon what that can bring, you know, for our industry, at least on the water park side, is it's going to bring opportunity. We're going to have an influx of tourists coming to the UAE. We're not sure how many people that will be. Perhaps a year ago, that would have been more, but there is going to be more and more people coming to the UAE for that time. So where that creates opportunity is that a lot of the resorts are starting to offer a different value proposition. I think just last week, the Meridian, Mina Sayahi, they announced a new project. We will be announcing another project in Abu Dhabi. That is, we've got a team on site right now doing the installation. We just did something at the Four Seasons in Bahrain, another project in the Maldives in the resort environment. And that's where a lot of these hotels and resorts have been looking at what else they can do to keep the guests in their property, make sure that they're the first destination. And actually COVID has pushed that even further, because there is a lot of staycation. There is so much supply in terms of hotel and resort offering that all of these places are now doing more to be able to compete for that the limited amount of guests that are in the market. You know, even Atlantis, they're doing a large expansion for next year. So all of this is actually going to create opportunities within the market. And I think that's only going to increase as they realize they need to be differentiated. They need to offer something additional. And so I think that's an exciting result of both Expo and even, you know, the current pessimistic situation we're currently in.
True. Mike, you mentioned that you visited the Expo site. Are you planning to put a water park there?
Not quite yet, no.
Not yet. Okay, cool.
Social more than work, unfortunately. But no, the pavilions are looking fantastic. You know, what it's trying to push for the environment and sustainability. We just hope people listen.
Absolutely.
But if they're listening and they want a water park, we can send them my number.
Definitely, yes, we'll do that. So in fact, you know, we've crossed an hour mark for our webinar, but one more thing I would like to add is the Industries Association, Minalac. You know, they are organizing the awards and the conference on November 10th, this Tuesday, next month. And that's a great morale boosting event for the industry. And I think this is the time when such things have to come up and you know, build the confidence of people within the industry, the stakeholders within the industry. And I think it's a brilliant thing that Minalac is doing. And I think, Prakash, if you'd like to add front.
You know, we always felt that as a board, we felt that it's time to celebrate the industry again. We have to bring about positivity into our thinking and thought process. Yes, we've all been impacted, But there were awards that were scheduled to take place in conjunction with Deal back in March if the exhibition had gone ahead. But obviously, it was not the right timing for exhibitions to go ahead at that point. And now that everybody is so much more virtuality savvy and everything else, we thought, look, hey, we have the awards, we have the nominations and everything else in, and everything is sitting with the external auditors and everything else. And it's time for all these companies that applied for these awards to be actually recognized in the year they're supposed to be recognized, right? So that was the whole viewpoint behind this. And then I think it's great to be able to celebrate the industry. It's great to be able to applaud the standout performers in this industry in terms of best parks. There are 23 different award categories. There's a Hall of Fame award, and it's going to be spectacular in terms of and the greatest thing is, because it's not there's an advantage to this whole virtual event. When you had to buy a ticket and go in, and there was a hall size that was limited to 300 or 400 people, today you could have everybody in every operation, middle-level managers, even game attendants, everybody else log in and see and understand what have different people done in different parts, in different segments of the industry. What is the best FEC like? What is a great theme park like? What's a great CSR initiative? What's a great marketing and loyalty program? It's great for more and more. I would encourage every operator to get their entire teams to actually log in, or a significant amount of the teams to actually log in for these awards, because it's a great learning experience for them to know their industry, for them to cheer their company for the awards and everything else. I think it's a great event. It's a perfect time to celebrate the industry. It's a perfect time to turn that. And with IATA canceling their event in November, which was a meeting place for the entire world anyway. So it was a perfect opportunity for MENALAC to bring everybody together and have this event. And we chose a time also which allowed people in the United States to log in, kind of late for Australia, but they can also log in, not very late, not very early in the morning at least. It's a little bit late at night for them. So the timing is perfect. They've also put together a terrific conference to support. So the conference starts in the afternoon with 3 beautiful, wonderful panel discussions with some really heavyweight people on the panels. And the conference program will be announced shortly. And following that, the awards start about 5:30. So everybody simply has to register and join on a similar Zoom call on the Zoom platform, and celebrate the industry and find out who are the movers and shakers in the Middle East and who the winners are. So yeah.
Wonderful. All the best to you all. All right.
Thank you.
So now, to close, I would like to request each one of you to give one message to the industry. There are people who are listening to us from across the globe, as I said, almost 43 countries, and the scenario is different in each of those countries. So what is it that you would like to communicate to all of them? Maybe one message from each one of you would really help to sum this webinar up. So Leonard, you want to start? Leonard?
He's on mute, I think.
Mike is muted.
Leonard, you're muted.
Sorry. That was me. I would say first and foremost is not to be negative or pessimistic about the outlook of the market, because regardless of what's happening, everyone is going through the same scenario, right? We're all, doesn't matter which industry, what sector, everyone is affected. And we need to look forward. This is the new normal, at least for the immediate future. We can't change that. And we have to look at our business in unconventional ways, out of the box thinking, things that you might have been against in the past. We strongly suggest go relook at everything. There's no right or wrong answer during this time. Today, it's about survival or sustainability. And the most important thing is for all of us to weather the storm and be able to build ourselves into 2021 and hopefully have a positive outcome by H2 of 2021 as the world is developing through this. I think it's important to be out of the box. You need to be aggressive to your business. You need to think about ways to optimize and be efficient. But most important is to remain positive about the outlook and finding ways to still conduct business, whether it be through partnerships or be it through optimization or collaborations or different pricing strategies that you haven't looked at, or for the suppliers, different financing solutions they haven't looked at, to be able for all of us to be able to move through this time period. So that's the words I would like to leave with everyone.
That's wonderful, Leonard. Thank you so much for that. Yasser, what about you?
Well, I think, in the times of crisis, after that, people are more eager to have to be entertained, to ease the stress and so on. We actually did a research in Zamperla. It was sponsored by Zamperla. Actually, it was a paper published in the article in the Blue Loop. You can look it up, and it's basically on the effects of the amusement parks on the post COVID-19 stress. And it is obvious, the people when after the situation, they will come back and they would like to go to the parks and have fun, and it's part of the human life. It will come back again for sure. So I think we just need to survive and brace ourselves in the time being, and be positive and work as hard as we can. And I think the market will come back, and even maybe stronger than this.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Yasser. Mike, your comments.
I think over the last few years, we've seen that the leisure and entertainment industry, it is a growing industry, and it's going to continue to be a growing industry. The demand for, entertainment's going to continue to increase. People are going to have more, more spending power, long run in the facilities. Yes, right now we're in a downturn. We are in a dip. But I think, the way I see it is it will improve. This is not there permanently. We're not going to currently be in this situation long run. Right now, we have to weather the storm. But I think we need to look at the long-term trends, which are only positive for all of us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Mike. Johannes, what are your comments on that? Your message?
Yeah, as everyone said, we have to be positive. Maybe it's time now to think about the future plans, the future developments, how things will be after things go back to normal. Everybody was affected. Doesn't matter how hard he was affected, or how business got really badly affected. We hope things will boom again. Business will pick up again at some point. We're gonna be there, us and ASI, to supply arcade games. And I hope things will go back to normal. But this downtime is good to plan ahead, good to plan for the future developments. It was a good lesson for everyone, actually.
True.
Because
True.
everyone started thinking of priorities, what has to be done.
True.
How to maintain, how to keep the business running, and we hope things go back to normal.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Johannes. I hope whatever you just said happens verbatim, to the point. Prakash, you.
Last word, huh? Okay. Now, my view is I agree with all the other panelists in terms of saying that everything has to be mixed in with a lot of positivity. Interestingly, there was a survey that was done, I can't remember by the exact source, come to me, where they kind of had a batch of about 100 people in about 97 different countries. They all asked them this question that, what do you prefer as a lifestyle, the pre-COVID one or the post-COVID one? And about 93% of them answered that they prefer the post-COVID lifestyle. So it's important to accept that people have changed. It's important to not wait for the vaccine, right? So, but to accept that this is the new system and this is what it is. And we will all learn to adjust with this entire thing, with or without the vaccine. And we are social people. We will want to socialize, and we will want to have fun. We will want to do interesting things with the leisure time. So it's a time to reinvigorate your offering. by looking back, by looking at all your resources, by retransforming your business and mix it all with a lot of positivity. And there's also a brilliant time because of the fact that a host of weed would have actually died in their inability to sustain. So it's important for operators to choose their suppliers, manufacturers, companies, everybody else very wisely at this point in time, and then deal with the good companies who are willing to be a part of their transformation, who are willing to work with them to evolve wonderful concepts that work. So positivity with reorganization and regeneration.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. So on that note, on behalf of the entire Deal team and IEC, I would like to thank you, the panelists, for taking the time out, and all the people who have joined us from across the globe, for this particular webinar. Really appreciate your time and efforts, and I'm sure people have benefited out of whatever we discussed today, and we hope to continue this journey, and we'll soon be coming up with the next webinar shortly. We'll keep you all informed, and wish you all the very best, and may all your businesses flourish, and you all do well. Thank you so much, and on that note, let's sign off. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. See you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.